Philip, pleasure to see you again, mate.
Pleasure to see you. Nice
Yeah,
to meet you again.
absolutely. So, Philip, obviously CEO of 4Players. Before we go into a little bit about 4Players, if you like to tell the people at home, obviously, who you are and a little bit about 4Players in general.
Yeah, 4Players has been started in 2000, so we have our 25
Amazing. Yeah,
anniversary
that's
this year, and we started with consumer services and then moved into the B2B space, helping developers more and more.
yeah,
And this is like a huge transformative story that we had over the years, and yeah, still a lot of work to do.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you've obviously been smashing the B2C sector, doing a lot of when it comes to private server hosting, but during that transition to B2B market, I know that you've been working very heavily on a product called ODIN Voice.
Yes.
I know you've already got some case studies out there with like the likes of MadfingerGames Gray Zone, which is
Yeah.
really cool to see. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that transition and how ODIN Voice has developed over the years?
Yeah, it's basically that when we started 25 years ago, we did TeamSpeak server hosting. So we were very used to hosting voice communication, and that's tricky to do because it's a latency game. You need to have low latency every time. You have very steady connections, and 25 years ago, the networking landscape was completely different than it is today. So we did a lot of invention there and did a lot of work on really making sure that the communication was good, which also included to build up a server network, but there was no hyperscaler, so we had to do this ourselves.
So you got the experience very early on compared to a lot of studios out there today.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and then it was like a lucky move because we were focused on voice server hosting, but it was more a reselling game. And then a team of the TeamSpeak developers came to us and they said, we imagine the best voice communication tool that does not exist yet, and we want to build it with you guys. So we hired the team.
Oh, amazing! I didn't know that.
And then we laid down and created ODIN Voice, and it was like 3 years of hard work.
Yeah,
And it's great to have this vision of having in-game proximity, immersive chat.
it makes a huge difference.
Yes, it makes a huge difference. And you see that now when I run around the convention and you see Madfingers with the Gray Zone Warfare and other titles like Combat Waffle, even with virtual reality, that's a completely different game. That's just amazing to see this vision come to life.
Absolutely. And so was ODIN Voice the initial transition into the B2B market, or were you always planning to move into the B2B?
We were in the B2B market with Skill before. That was a tool that we built that was around 2017. That was our first move into this space. The basic idea was to build a software toolkit to build challenges, battle passes, and make this easy for developers to integrate. But it actually failed. But we learned a lot. And ODIN Voice, we managed to build on the foundation that we built with Skill, the partnership, the basic processes, everything. And yeah, so that was like the second attempt to be in the market, and it was successful.
Amazing. Obviously, you all learn from your mistakes, so that's it's a good thing. And then obviously you've got odinfleet as well. It's kind of a new product. I think you've had that now for, is it about a year?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
How's that going?
It's going great. Especially what we imagine is that there's a good fit between if you really want to have great voice chat within your game, you typically also need to have good servers. So it's a good fit, and it both works great together. And Combat Waffle, for example, uses both tools, fleet and voice.
Yeah.
And still a lot of work to do, but I think it works out great, especially because we are really focused on helping developers, game developers, build the servers. It's basically, we share the same values, a deep understanding of what game developers need. Not so much, hosting a WordPress website is easy, but hosting game servers is a different story. And this is what we are focused with Fleet.
Yeah, and like game developers, ultimately they just want to make a game that they're passionate about and a fun game for everyone. And server orchestration, let's be real, it's not particularly the most fun part of game development. So for someone like yourself to come along and take on a little bit of that ownership and help studios to focus on making their game, it's really, really valuable. And then to also have something like the ODIN Voice for that proximity, into discussions online. Then it's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
And it makes a lot of fun seeing this come alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We all met 4 years ago, Gamescom, I believe. That was my first Gamescom. But actually, your journey with Servers.com started back in 2019 Gamescom.
Exactly.
Where you first met us. You'd like to share a little bit about the journey that you've been on with us and how that's evolved over some time?
Yeah. When we first met 2019, we were in the process of internationalization.
Mm-hmm.
So we always had a huge foundation in Europe. And then during this time frame, we thought about we need to go to the US. And then I was here at the Gamescom, and in the beer garden, I met Jared, and he just
sounds about right.
gave me his credit card, and and I thought the name itself is great. Servers.com just rocks, and I was immediately attracted to it, and I gave it my colleague Oliver, who is responsible for this project and for these kind of operations today. And then we quickly noticed that we shared the same values and that you really deliver what we needed, especially in the first place in the US. So it was like our backbone for our US business, and then we expanded to Asia. Mm-hmm. And during like the PAL World peak,
that was a mad week.
that was crazy. But then you were also a backbone.
Yeah.
Also in Europe. So that was like a huge journey from being a complement to really being a partner, helping us deliver excellent services for our clients.
Amazing, thank you. You obviously work with multiple vendors. You should do. You need to have that additional redundancy. You need to be able to spin up very quickly for games like Power World are successful overnight. It's just the right thing to do. But if I ask you a question on how do you feel about us compared to some of our competitors, is there anything that we do that's maybe separates us from the rest, or are we all the same?
No, absolutely not. I think we share the same values. It's also the personal connection. Mm-hmm. When we have discussions with our partners and clients, we try to be as personal and supportive as possible. And this is what you guys also do. Yeah. And I think that makes a difference. You can go to hyperscalers, but you will never ever talk to anyone. So if you have any issues, you are alone, or you have to pay huge amounts of money to get some support. And I think this is for our business and how we imagine it, that's just the wrong way of doing it. And Servers.com is the same as, so we vision it in the same way. And I like that a lot. And what is also huge is like that there are no, when we talk about getting servers, they are fast, and you don't have like to be careful about, oh God, we signed a 12-month retainer, these kind of things. So that's just amazing. We like that a lot with Servers.com, and that sets you apart of the competitors.
It's just about, you're setting developers up for success, and we're trying to set you up for success.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if we're successful, we're all successful together.
Yeah.
And that's all it's about. It's about working closely and, the best for the customer.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And I also like that you might think, and that was my impression too when we started with the B2B server hosting side, that in hyperscalers you always have like these virtual CPUs, so you don't typically know what exact specs are behind that. Today there are some options, but basically you don't have to care about that. But gamers, they deeply care about the hardware they run, and game developers also. So we also notice that some clients come to us and say, we need to have this specific hardware. And if we reach out to you guys, you can deliver that.
Yeah, I think every game is different, and it's really important to find something that, ultimately reduces their dollar per gigabyte of RAM or dollar per core ratio to as minimal as possible, cost per player at the end of the day, whilst also ensuring that you're not then on something so bespoke that if you do have another parallel situation that you can't scale up quickly. It's finding that balance and making sure, from a cost perspective, it makes sense, but also from a redundancy purpose. Yeah. And then just staying close to each other, like knowing when you've got things coming up, planning for that together just helps you, with those developers to make sure that they have, a good time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. So, Philip, obviously, we're one of your providers, and I know you rent obviously bare metal servers. I also know that you've got some of your own machines and also leverage the hyperscale cloud. So,
Yeah.
all three mixed bags. And why did you pick that option? Did you help those people at home that are probably less familiar with the server infrastructure, world?
Yeah.
Can you help us? You put us in your shoes for a minute and help us understand why did all three make sense for you?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we actually use all three. And when we founded 4Players, we were founded with venture capitalist Freenet, who had their own data center. That was in the year 2000. So we always had this data center, which was huge, which was completely over-engineered for what Freenet had needed. And so we had like free capacity. We did not even have to pay for it. And so we built a huge stack there of servers that we rented, and that was like our base. And then we moved forward to, and that was we were owning the servers. We had their own racks. We had hands-on services, all of those things. So it was basically the co-location thing and or more housing thing. So we own the servers. We have them in the rack, and the data center operates the servers, but we are in charge of those. And then when we moved with the internationalization, we moved into how we do the business with Servers.com. So we rent the servers for some time, and if we don't require them anymore, we drop them. So that's a good way of having like planned scaling, but you cannot plan for like 5 years from now. So you need to have some flexibility. But it's okay for us to invest in like have a 6-month time span to work with that. And then you have like hyperscalers where you can extremely scale from 1 minute to the next, which is like what they always tell you, but there are quotas. There are also like things that you want to scale, and then there's a limit, and then you have to talk to them. So it's still not that you can like run from 0 to 100,000 concurrent users within 1 minute. But it's like the basic idea behind the hyperscalers. And so for each use case, we use what works best for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, on that note, what works best for you, moving forward, where do you see, do you see anything changing? What's the real plans for 4Players?
Yeah. Well, our plan is to really grow Fleet and Voice.
Yeah.
And we can, from now on, we have a clear idea of what resources are required to do that. So we can move more into the planning again to really not just having complement locations that we have and perhaps drop, but especially in the B2B space, you really need to have reliability services. We have service level agreements. And so we now get into a more mature setup with worldwide locations. And Servers.com is one of our really backbones in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Looking forward to the rest of this year and beyond.